Hi YouTube. I haven't done a video on my transition update in a while. So I'll just tell you about what's like for me to be someone who's transgender with a visual impairment. So not really much different than other transgender people, but the unique challenges is, you know, getting the right dose of testosterone and injecting it myself. So it'd be hard for me to do. So that's why I go to the nurse every 2 weeks and get my testosterone shot. So it's been 4 years since I started testosterone. I noticed a lot of changes, especially, you know, my voice has deepened a bit, and I'm starting to grow facial hair now. I have hair on my stomach now, and I find that my sex drive is all over the place. Like, I get horny for no freaking reason sometimes, and yeah. I find, like, psychologically, I experience less range of emotions. I'm either angry, or I'm either happy, or I'm just depressed. So, yeah. Coming out definitely wasn't easy. I didn't get the courage to come out until I was 22 years old. My parents had no idea what transgender meant, because they did not grow up learning that stuff. They are in a third world country, and they had limited opportunities when it came to education. So it was definitely very hard for them to understand the concept of what transgender was, and I didn't know what transgender was myself until I did some research. So I can imagine that doing self-injections would be difficult for me. Like, otherwise, it was like going through puberty again. Just feeling like a teenager. I found that I had a lot of acne on my face. I started on a low dose of testosterone, and then I gradually increased my dose. So I'm almost at the adult dose right now. I'm not in a hurry to you know, for my voice to deepen to like a really low pitch. Just rather take it easy. I also heard that testosterone can have an effect on your singing voice. It definitely has affected my vocal cords. They've gotten a bit longer, and, you know, like, I'm sure you boys can relate when you go through puberty and you feel like something is scratching your throat. So that's what I felt, and my voice began to crack. When my voice started to deepen and change. So yeah, like, one of the challenges is not being able to compare how I used to look by just looking in the mirror or photographs. So that's something that I don't have that benefit. So yeah. But I do look back at my old videos before I transitioned. My voice was definitely higher. I found that I experienced depression less than I did before transitioning. And I'm definitely more confident in my own skin. So I'm still unsure if I want to if I want to go through surgery because I'm concerned about the complications. Like things can go terribly wrong with surgery, so I just don't want to rush it. Like I get misgendered less now than I did before I began testosterone and early in my transition. So I get read as male lots, so which is good. I find that my fat has redistributed into more of a male pattern. But would I go back to being a woman? I wouldn't. Because I'm happy living as a man. Like I find myself, in society as a man, to to say sexist stuff about women. So, um, yeah, I started saying sexist stuff, like sexist comments, and saying like I called women the B word, and one of my professors, he told me that word is only appropriate for female dogs. I called my sisters the B word before. I've called my old female friends the B word, and I also said stuff like women should get married at 18. Women are supposed to be having babies in their 20s, and yeah, and it's socially unacceptable to say that, and it comes off as like sexist, and I have been being sexist. I gotta admit that. Like, I listen to shows like Tom Likas, and I find him to be an a-hole. So I hate to tell you this, but after I started watching Tom Likas, I started to act like Tom Likas. I started being like bitter towards women, calling them the B word, calling them calling some women sluts and whores. But yeah, pre-transition, when I lived as a woman, I probably would have been offended by that. So I have sisters, I have like female cousins, and which I gotta realize, hey, I should tone it down. And yeah, when my sister lived with me, I was a dickhead to her. Told her to pack up her shit and didn't want her living with me anymore. So I don't want to go into a personal story about that. So, but I find that her and I get along better now. So yeah, we fight less. And when my sister was living with me, I would go on YouTube and watch sexist videos, and she would like overhear those videos from my bedroom. Like when I watched Tom Leykis, I heard him call women human toilets and sperm depository, and you know, like when women over 40, they call them, he calls them like old bags. I started calling women old bags, which I know wasn't nice, and I started referring to women 25 or older as old maids. Those who are not married. Like this old-fashioned mentality, like, oh, like you're an old maid, but if you don't get married by this age. Like I called some of my female friends like old maids before, and it's not nice, but yeah. Or in Vietnamese or Chinese, the equivalent of that is leftover woman. So I don't know how to say leftover woman in Chinese, but in Vietnamese, they used to say quá. So again, it's quá, and it's and you know, my sister would call me out and say, hey, that's sexist. So definitely, it's, you know, if you're not careful, and it's easy to get carried away as a man and start saying sexist stuff. Like I called some women like hoes. And cunts too. That's really bad. And besides the B word, I shouldn't curse on this channel. You know, I called my youngest sister like the B word. And you know, I told my physics professor I wouldn't call women that. So, yeah. I'm trying to go back to my old self and treat people the way I want to be treated. I don't go to church anymore because I find them to be transphobic, so I decided to not go to church anymore. That's the only negative side about church, but the positive side was like I learned about God and Jesus and the Holy Ghost, so definitely learned a lot. I read the Bible once in a while, but not very often. Sometimes I'll pray to God. Sometimes I'll read the Book of Mormon. So definitely learned a lot. So about like the gospel. So yeah, it's crazy. It's been like 4.5 years since I started testosterone. So if you want to compare how I look and sound like, you can always look back to my earlier videos prior to February of 2017 and during my first few months of testosterone. So you'll notice I change a little bit. Even my voice starts to drop. So yeah, I'm gonna go now, guys. Again, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would help me out a lot. I'll see you guys for another video in the future. Bye.